Okay, so we're trying again. Here's the deal. If we cannot stay on, we may just push this till noon and see if it helps for us to not be on maybe when so many people are on right now. So again, welcome. We're so sorry. It just keeps pushing us off of Facebook, which is so unusual because we did have this one other time, but this morning worked fine. So we're going to try this again. So welcome everybody. Glad you're here. And I'm going to get Mitch back up here.
All affected by the pandemic.
I'm going to take him back to the beginning.
For loss of work, loss of businesses, loss of homes, loss of...
Did not take him back. Hold on.
Loved ones. We take this time to relax our body.
Clearly. Okay, we're going to just go back a page. And then we're going to start again. So for those of you who maybe just came on, if this goes off again, we're going to shoot for doing this at noon and hope that we won't get pushed off of Facebook. But we're going to try it again. So here's Mitch.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a lovely Sunday so far. First of all, I just want to say it was so great to see everybody last night at the outdoor concert. Not everybody, but a lot of people. It was good to see people. I know it was good for you guys to get to see me in person because you wither, you wilt like a flower if you don't. I understand. But it was good for me to see you too. Honestly, though, it was just all the people that came out. It was such a great turnout. Great to be with the band and play some music. It was just an all-around good time. So thank you for all of you that came. Thank you for all of you that socially distanced, everybody wearing masks. That was the right way and the right way to do it. Namaste day way today, yesterday. You see where I'm going. If you would please join me in our mission statement. Our mission is to encourage and inspire spiritual and personal growth by empowering each other to be authentically all that we came here to be. And now our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotent. Our affirmation today is, I view every moment as an opportunity for change and transformation. And our daily word. In Meditation, A Way of Life, Julian Bouchard writes, nothing is stable, nothing is static, everything is moving, everything is transforming, and from one moment to another, we are the spectators of our world's renewal, of a new universe. Rather than considering change as a fear of the unknown, I consider it an opportunity to transform the way that I think, feel, and act. I shift into new ways of being by shifting my perceptions, attitudes, and beliefs about myself and my world. Thought by thought, I can change my outlook and my attitude, regardless of what is happening in my life or around me. I always have the power to change. Every moment is an opportunity for transformation. Psalm 51:10 is our scripture today. It is, create in me a clean heart, O God, and put a new and right spirit within me. Once again, our affirmation is, I view every moment as an opportunity for change and transformation. Boy, that's the tough one these days, isn't it? Every opportunity, woo-hoo, every moment, woo-hoo. If you now please join us in prayer. If you would like to place yourself or a loved one on the prayer list, please call the church at 417-887-2214 and leave a message, or you can email us at cculunity@sbcglobal.net. This week, prayer was requested for Jeff, Ken, Alyssa, Christina, Jeannie, Alex, and Jenny. Let us also hold in prayer all the people affected by wildfires and hurricanes, all affected by the pandemic, for loss of work, loss of businesses, loss of homes, loss of loved ones. We take this time to relax our bodies, clear our minds of worry, concern, and mindless chatter. Take a deep breath. Hold it and exhale. As we begin our prayer, bring to your mind your loved ones and yourself as we include them also. We affirm for all healing, prosperity, mental clarity, faith, peace of mind, love, friendships, and understanding, hope for a fabulous future. We visualize that all people around the world have their needs met, are treated with respect for their spiritual beliefs, their ethnicity, their way of life. We see all world leaders governed with wisdom and guidance. May kindness and service be shared naturally and without expectation. We are all one human family, radiating the infinite Spirit of God. We choose to raise our consciousness, therefore raising consciousness for all. We are filled to overflowing with unlimited gratitude for our lives, our loved ones, our experiences, and our opportunities. Thank you, God. We are so blessed. Amen and amen. Well, I hope sometime soon we'll all get to see each other on a Sunday morning all together. I hope that's coming up really soon. So you have a blessed day. Love you guys. Great to see you all. Hope to see you soon. Namaste.
And thank you, Mitch. We are so grateful. Actually, if you've been missing Mitch, then you got to see him a little bit more because we've had to do this numerous times. So thank you so much, Mitch. So we are going to enter into a time of meditation. And I got to tell you, I need this a little bit right now. So Paul's going to ring our prayer bowl. And I'm going to invite you, as he rings the prayer bowl, just to take in those deep breaths, bring yourself fully into the present moment, and allow the tones from the prayer bowl to just take you deep into that holy, sacred center of your being. And in these moments, we remember what we share together every week. And that is that there is truly only one presence and one power in the universe, in our lives, and that is God. God the good, omnipresent, everywhere present, omnipotent, all power, omniscient, all knowledge. We bring this thought from our head into our heart space today, where we open up ourselves to realizing it, bringing it into a living reality within us. That no matter what is going on in our personal lives, in the lives of our family, our friends, in the life of our community, of our state, of our country, in the life of our world, in the life of the universe, this living truth reminds us that all is truly well and all will be well. That underlying everything is the only reality that truly exists, and that is the reality of love. That love is the harmonizer, love is the healer, love is the creative impulse itself. Love is that which weaves everything into the greater tapestry of good for everyone, for everything. And in the midst of so much that is going on around us, so much upheaval, fires and weather patterns, divisiveness, climate change, all of the things that are going on around us, God is in the midst of it. Love is in the midst of it. Let us take a moment to imagine rain pouring upon the West Coast. Take a moment to visualize those fires being put out. Take a moment to send peace to weather patterns that are creating hurricanes and seeing those alleviated. Call upon the love that is within you, the love that you are, to spread out into your family dynamic, into your community, into your state, into your country, into your world. The love that transforms, that heals, the love that harmonizes. And expand that love 100 times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. And let it do its mighty work to bring about a deep healing on our planet. There is only one presence and one power: God. Love. I'm going to invite us to take a minute in the silence to be with that knowing, becoming vitally alive within our being. And we say, thank you, thank you, thank you, God. And so it is, and so it shall be. Amen and amen. And thank you, universe, that we are still online right now. So very grateful for that. Well, for your special music today, it's actually me and our band. And so the first song today is The Call of Something More by Karen Drucker.
There's been a storm brewing inside of me, clouds moving round my heart. Something's changing and I can't see. I'm stuck in where I know is safe, not in where I'm supposed to be. I feel the call of something more. I feel the call of something I've never felt before. I feel the call of something more. I feel the call and it's asking, what am I here for? 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 They say that pain pushes and the vision unfolds. Feels like my safety net has fallen down. I wish I had a map of where to go. I've got this feeling in my soul. When I get there, I will know. I feel the call of something more. I feel the call of something I've never done before. I feel the call of something more. I feel the call and it's asking, what am I here for? 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 heart will point the way. There is more of me to share, so today I do declare I will take that step in faith and let my light shine. Oh, I feel a call of something more. I feel the call of something I've never seen before. I feel the call of something more. I feel the call to be someone I've never been before. I feel the call of something more. I feel the call and it's asking, what am I here for? 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 Here for? What am I here for? What am I here for? What am I here for? Love.
And thank you so much to our band, and great job, John Merrifield, on that solo part. I got to tell you, it's so much fun to work with our band. They're just a great group of people. And, John Russ is our music director, but the rest are volunteers, and they give so much to this ministry. So if you have the opportunity, please reach out and say thank you to them. So here we are. We are in the midst of a series based on the book called This Life is Joy by Dr. Roger Teal. And I love that song because it really is that we are being called up, my friends. We are being called to something so much more than perhaps what we have been in the past. And I believe that this book really helps us to move in to that place where we can start discerning what that something more is that is wanting to emerge from us. This is a book about mastering our life. And he starts with the 7 pillars of truth. And we talked about those 7 pillars being this instant is love. Love is the only presence and power. This being that is before me, whoever they are light. This world is consciousness. It is made up of our consciousness. This idea is absolute substance. This relationship is oneness. This journey is surrender. And this life is joy. And then we moved into the 9 portals of transformation. We've talked about our fear is actually our friend, that our problems are possibilities, that our judgments are a yearning for acceptance, that conflicts are an opportunity for forgiveness, that a disease is an opportunity for great discovery. Today we're going to be talking about this change is birth, and this uncertainty is magic, and then we'll move into this desire is fulfillment, and this risk is greatness. Now, if you had the opportunity to tune in on Thursday, it was Unity's World Day of Prayer, and what it was based on is moving from fear to faith. And that's really what I think our life journey is about, is moving from fear to faith. So today we're going to start by talking about change. And I have a couple of acronyms for change, and many of you will recognize these acronyms. I love this one. It's come have a new glorious experience. But sometimes we look at change as crud. Here's another negative gall dang experience. And the reality, my friends, is that we vacillate in between these two things. Now, there's change that is a change that is welcome to us. You know, we buy a home, we start a new job, we go to college, we're going to get married, we're going to have a baby, things like that. Those are changes that we're like, yeah, come have a new glorious experience. But then there's those changes that are kind of thrust upon us. We're in the midst of one, coronavirus, and all the changes that have come forth with that. Perhaps we lose a job, or we go through a divorce, or the economy tanks on us, or things like that. And that's where we go into that crud. Here's another negative Galdane experience. But what Roger shares with us is that when change is thrust upon us, we have this tendency to immediately start to try to control it and manipulate it. And a lot of times we even deny that it's happening, or we resist it. So Roger shares this story about a woman who was really challenged by the aging process. And she resented it, she feared it, the aging process, and she was frantic in just doing everything that she could, spending a lot of money on procedures and on products to slow down that aging process. So she went to Roger about this, and ultimately what she discerned was that her problem wasn't with aging, it was with her resistance to aging. So through the process of counseling, they came to the place where she moved into this for the next 6 months or so. Whenever she had this worry or this anxiety about aging, she let herself rest and relax. She started getting into hobbies that she had kind of put aside and started spending time with that. She started spending more time with her friends and her family. And Roger said it was really interesting because at the end of that 6 months, she literally looked 10 years younger. Now, I have found this resistance and this trying to control and manipulate change, especially when somebody has been diagnosed with a terminal illness in which they're given a short period of time before they're going to transition. And I had one person who was so panicked by this process that she was frantic in going to every healer that she could go to, going to every person that she could go to. And I remember one day she came into the church during a work day, and in this franticness just almost like commanded all of us who were there to go into the sanctuary with her and put our hands on her and do a hands-on healing, which we had never done before, but we were open to doing it. Ultimately, this person did pass away, but the point of that being that her resistance to what was her hanging on so much, she didn't allow herself time to just be present to her family and her friends and to have more of a connection before she passed into the other realms. Usually there is a point at which a person will reach that place of peace and that place of connection. Now, for those of you who follow me on Facebook, you've probably seen that I've been posting some things about that September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And that's especially something that is dear to our hearts and our family because my great nephew Gino died at the age of 11 from a very rare form of childhood cancer. But here was the difference in this journey, that instead of being frantic when he first got his diagnosis, I know that initially they took that hit, but his family, his mom and dad, decided that they were going to face this with positivity and they were not going to be victims to this experience. And so through this process, they, anytime you went to the hospital, it was always upbeat. Gino did ultimately have a clean bill of health. This was like in November. But by January, they had gotten the news that the cancer had spread to his brain. But even at that, they chose to be very present, to be very in the moment. And the difference in that experience for them was that Gino, he wasn't afraid and he was just surrounded by love and he passed very peacefully when the time came. The same with Mary Koppler, for those of you who knew Mary. When she got the diagnosis that she only had a short time to live, instead of resisting it and pushing against it, she just accepted it, and she made it a point to be very present to her friends and her family. Roger reminds us that in the midst of change, the only thing that we have control over is our consciousness. And that is our thinking and our feeling, the quality of that, the quality of our believing and of our responding. And I want to remind us that we do have control over that ultimately. So Roger shares what he calls 3 essential concepts about moving into and experiencing change. The first one is that this change is birth. And so what he says to us on this is that this challenges us to go beyond the appearances at the surface level of circumstances, conditionings, and happenings, Rather than focusing exclusively on what is breaking down, falling away, or ending, this core concept invites us to sense that the universe, and I love how he says this, is always pregnant with potentiality. Life is forever birthing more of itself. The opportunity that we have is to become the midwife of a birth unfolding by means of some kind of change. Now, I want to remind us here that it's okay that when a change is thrust upon us, that we do take that initial hit. I think there's always that window where our mind can't really process what is happening when a change occurs so quickly, and it's not a real positive change for us. So it's okay that we have that window. And when there's a loss, that grieving is a normal and natural part of the process. But that ultimately what we can move to is that this change is birth, and that, you know, life is forever birthing these wonderful potentialities and possibilities. Essential concept number 2 is that change is a necessary vehicle for every person's evolution and awakening. And I think probably all of us listening have had enough life experience that we can see that that is absolutely true. That we aren't always so quick to push ourselves into these opportunities for spiritual awakening, for creating impetus for growth for ourselves, but that life provides us with these opportunities. And so again, when we know this, when we take this from a belief into a knowing, then when these changes occur, again, we can get there more quickly. That okay, this is, you know, this again, I've said it so many times, here I grow again. It's an opportunity for growth. Ernest Holmes, let me go to this, said, nature will not let us stay in one place too long. She will let us stay just long enough to gather the experience necessary to the unfolding and advancement of the world. Nature demands change in order that we may advance. When change comes, we should welcome it with a smile on the lips and a song in the heart. Now, again, I can say that depending on the change, I get there. I definitely get there sooner than I got in the past. And some changes I get there really quick. Other changes it takes me a little while to get there. But working these principles in our lives, I think all of us can say we get there a lot sooner than we did in the past. Roger shares that change is a mask that transformation wears. And he also shares that there's a saying, never waste a crisis, that crisis and change are elements that promote the birthing of a higher order. So I want you just to kind of hear that for a moment. Crisis and chaos are change elements that promote the birthing of a higher order. So as we look at this time that we are in, I think it would be easy for us to just give up hope. There is so much that is going on in our culture here in the United States of America. There's so much that's happening in our world. There's so much that's happening around us with the fires and with the weather patterns, with climate change. There's a lot of divisiveness, but there is a model called spiritual dynamics. And this is by the American professor of psychology, Claire W. Graves, and then it was expanded upon. But this is a complex system that offers us a further understanding of the gifts of change and chaos. And so spiral dynamics suggests that the evolution of human consciousness, as you can see here, it's like an upward spiral of various value systems and dimensions of awareness called memes. And here's the thing about it, is that a new and a more effective meme is birthed when a former meme has generated problems that it can no longer solve. And it sounds very familiar to me for where we're at today. And because that really is the time that we are in. We are in a time of unprecedented change, chaos, dysfunction, disorder. Systems are breaking down. And when systems start breaking down, those that love those systems, they will fight harder, they will get louder, they will hold on tighter to save those systems. And we see that happening right now. And it's really, and we can all relate to it, it's just fear, and that we want to hold on to the way that it was. But our opportunity is to realize that the greater unfoldment of wholeness and evolution is sprouting up by means of this disorder. So I want to share with you some of these about this spiral dynamics, because it makes sense. And this is something that at some point I'm definitely going to do a class on. So in the orange level, this was 300 years ago. This is where we were very self-centered. It was all about playing to win. This is where we started to manipulate the earth's resources to create and spread abundance. This is where society is starting to prosper through strategy, through technology, and competitiveness. Well, as we rise up on the spiral and we come into the green, now this is about 150 years ago, this is where the human spirit must be freed from dogma and creed and divisiveness. This is where feelings and sensitivity and caring supersede cold rationality. This is where we begin to spread the earth's resources. Then we move up into the yellow meme. This is 50 years ago when this is starting. This is when we're living more fully and responsibly as what we are, and we're learning to become more of what we were authentically created to be. This is where the magnificence of existence is valued over material possessions. And then as we move up into the highest realm that we have right now, that is into turquoise. This is 30 years ago that this has started. This is where we begin to experience the wholeness of existence through mind and spirit. And spirit. This is where we really begin caring about the environment. This is where self is both distinct and a blended part of the greater whole. Now, as we look at this, what we can see is change takes time. You know, to look at what was happening 300 years ago is very much still happening today. But those are the systems that we can see that are breaking down right now. Those systems where it was self-centered, where it's about playing to win, where it was about manipulating the earth's resources, where it's all about this outer realm. And so we can see that those are the systems that are breaking down right now. Those are the systems that are coming up and being looked at. And those systems have to break down. There has to be this disorder. There has to be this chaos in order for the new to be birthed, in order for the new to emerge, for these other memes to come into being. And ours is to hold on and to continue to be who we are, and to continue to hold on to the vision of what we know that this life existence can be. Now, the essential concept number 3 is that the divine is always conspiring for our highest and best. And this is where, my friends, we go to. I do live in a friendly universe, that even when things look like such chaos and such disorder, when there's so much divisiveness, when all these things are going on, that I can still know that there is something that is here on my behalf personally, but is here on behalf of the greater whole. Spirit is relentlessly biased on the side of our growth and unfoldment. And again, you know, I often say, here I grow again. And I feel like maybe at this time we are just in kind of this super growth period where things are just whoosh, happening so fast, but we can absolutely trust it. You know, I've always enjoyed the analogy of the butterfly, and from the caterpillar to the cocoon to the butterfly. And Roger shares about this, that when the caterpillar cocoons itself, it ultimately turns into this goopy mess. And it is then that these imaginal cells appear, and these imaginal cells are encoded with the pattern of the eventual butterfly. But when this happens, the caterpillar's lesser cells attack and resist, but the imaginal cells continue to assert themselves until eventually the butterfly emerges from the cocoon. Well, how Roger brings this to us is that in a similar way, the higher impulsion calls each of us to transform, to continue our journey of becoming. And guess what? We resist. But here's what we can trust, is that that divine pattern is encoded within everything. That divine pattern is encoded within every person. It's encoded within everything that has been created. And that divine pattern is love. And as we talked about in the meditation, that, love is the creative impulse itself. It is the divine harmonizer and the divine healer. So again, our opportunity is always, when any change occurs, is to remember to come and have a new glorious experience. And this leads us to this uncertainty is magic. Now, when Roger talks about magic, he is saying that our magic is our willingness to embrace uncertainty and to utilize it as an open arena for discovery. It is to learn to enjoy being freed from emotions or situations and to be firmly in midair. How many of us like to be in midair, not knowing where we're going to land? That usually isn't our favorite place to be, is it? But again, it's recognizing that our greatest control is this mind right here, this thinking mind. And we do have the ability to control this thinking mind. I love Brother David Steindl-Rast said, another name for God is surprise. So Roger says another way to court magic is to doubt or at least hold lightly one's certainties, and to give oneself, and I love how he says this, to give oneself over to the great muse, to the great unknown. And here's the thing, is that part of this has to do with the certainties that we have about ourselves. And these certainties have usually come from other people and from our culture. So I'm going to share with you some of the interesting certainties that people tried to impose on some people that we know in history. So teachers said that Thomas Edison was too stupid to learn anything. Louisa May Alcott, the author of Little Women, was encouraged by her family to settle for work as a servant or a seamstress. Walt Disney was fired by a newspaper due to his lack of original ideas. One teacher described Albert Einstein as mentally slow, unsociable, and adrift forever in his foolish dreams. He was even expelled from school and refused readmittance. And Winston Churchill failed the 6th grade and didn't become Prime Minister of England until he was 62, and only after many, many setbacks. But what we see here is that they moved beyond the certainties that were imposed upon them and into the uncertainty of what could be. And what this offers us is it offers us the opportunity to look at our own lives and to see where we have these desires and we can feel them, but somewhere along the line, we took on a belief that we could not be or do what it is that is wanting to emerge from us, and to move beyond that and to trust that whatever that pattern is that is encoded in you, that is your authentic expression, that it will be supported as you move forward to express that. Now, Roger also talks about that it's easy to become a status quo person. He tells the story of Robert Fulton's steamboat when it was at the dock and people yelled that it's never going to start. And then the steamboat started, and then they yelled, it's never going to go anywhere. And then the steamboat moved out beyond the dock, and then they, yelled out, "It's never going to stop." So his point in telling that story is that there are the ways of doubters and of status quo people. People like Simon Newcomb, an astronomer who said, "Flight by machines heavier than air is unpractical, insignificant, if not utterly impossible." Or like Ken Olsen in 1977, who was the president then of the Digital Equipment Corporation, who proclaimed there is no reason for any individual to have a computer in their home. So here is the thing, is he tells us we all have this kind of status quo in us. We all have restricted what we would look at as being outrageous possibilities when they've knocked on the door of our awareness. Albert Einstein said, that when I examine myself and my methods of thought, I come to the conclusion that the gift of imagining has meant more to me than my talent for absorbing positive knowledge. Never lose a holy curiosity. Never lose that holy curiosity. Don't let yourself become or stay in the confines of something that somebody told you, or that you perceive that somebody or a culture has told you. Let yourself move into that place of uncertainty. And when we move into that place, Roger tells us that there's a wonderful friend that desires to walk along with us in that. And that friend is serendipity. So here's some of the things that he says about serendipity. What is going on when a man's car breaks down on his way to an appointment? He decides to go with the flow. He ends up at a place that's going to fix his car, across the desk from the receptionist, who later becomes his wife. Or what goes on when a fellow traveler follows her guidance, decides to take a different flight than the one that she was booked on, and ends up sitting next to a woman who shares an incredible opportunity that opens her up to new vistas of prosperity and fulfillment. Or serendipity is what happens when a couple has to release their idea of having their own natural child due to a doctor's finding. And they decide to volunteer at a home for pregnant, unwed teens. And a year later, they meet a 16-year-old girl named Angela. And afterward, they adopt her baby. They create a wonderful, incredible family and a beautiful relationship with Angela. And I know that what this does is this moves us to remember our stories of serendipity, because all of us have had those stories where you can't explain it, but something, again, it's recognizing there is something greater that is working on our behalf. And my friends, I think it's really important to take some time to sit down and to remember those stories and to write them down, because in those times when we are in the place of uncertainty, we can go back and we can read those, and those stories remind us, look at that. I was guided. I was supported. This is what came out of that. Now, I want to share with you, because I think this is interesting, what he shares in the book. He shares that the idea of serendipity actually came from ancient Persian tales about the three princes of Serendip. Now, these three princes, they go on great adventures to seek fortune and to seek knowledge out in the world, so they can come back and they can become kings of their own realms. But these three princes have one mishap after another on their journeys. They always seem to be on the brink of losing their lives or losing their fortunes, when out of the blue, something unexpected comes along, opens up these incredible ways for them. And the thing is that usually what they set out for isn't exactly what they got, but it's always something more magnificent, something greater than they could have ever imagined. And about those princes, it is said that it was as though an unseen force was guiding them better than they could guide themselves. And they came to know that what was best for them in the long run would be their experience anyway, and consequently, they became serene. So Roger breaks this down for us. It was as though an unseen power was guiding them better than they could guide themselves. And this is going back again to that knowing that there is something that is absolutely here for us, to lean into that, to trust that, to claim that in the midst of any uncertainty in your life. Let that be the first place that you go, that you are not alone in this, that there is something that is supporting you. There is something that is guiding you, and you can trust it, know it, because you have so many experiences of that already. And then he goes on to the second part, and they came to know. And that knowing comes from our experience. Again, that's why it's important to remember these things, to write them down, to go back and reread them, because that moves us to that place of knowing that this too shall work out. And then to the last part, and they came to know that what was best for them in the long run would be their experience anyway, and consequently they became serene. And what Roger says here is serendipity is a byproduct of living with in alignment with the presence and the power of Spirit of God. It's realizing that we can trust this power, that I can know for me that what's best for me is going to happen. Whew. That's a big one, especially when things all look really uncertain, especially when we feel in midair. But when we can affirm that, I can know for myself that what's best for me is going to happen. Then we open ourselves up to being redirected as we are guided. I had an experience just in the last few days where some water got on my MacBook Pro and it died. And it was not coming back alive. And, I invested in a MacBook Pro because a MacBook is just an awesome computer, but it costs a lot to buy a MacBook Pro. But I really didn't move into that place of anxiety. I really quickly just moved into that place of, you know what, this is all going to work out. I don't know how it's going to work out, but somehow it's going to work out. And ultimately, if I have to buy a new one, the money's just there. I'm not going to worry about it. So yesterday, now bear in mind, I need my computer for everything that we do here on Sunday morning, plus just my work in general. And then I remembered finally that I had a little different PC that I could use, which I'm using this morning. But I went to Best Buy yesterday and I thought that maybe I had bought the Apple Care plan, but I couldn't remember and I couldn't find my receipt. And thank you, God, I did do my future self a favor way back then and bought the Apple Care. So instead of having to buy a new computer, it cost me $323 to get my computer fixed. It'll come back in 6 to 8 weeks. But the really cool thing was that yesterday, out of the blue, someone paid me for something that I had not anticipated getting paid for. It was not even a thought in my mind that I would get paid for this. And this person just came up and handed me a $100 bill. And I knew in that moment, it was just like, wow, look at how this works. And for me, it's that place of getting out of that angst and anxiety that closes down the energy. And when we just open ourselves up and trust, you'll be amazed at what just shows up in your life. So we can absolutely trust that. So Roger gives us a few things here. The first thing is to stay alert. Be alert to opportunities trying to make themselves known. So the story I'm going to share here is about Paul and myself, my beloved. We are getting married on October 16th. That's the 5th year of our first date. But I want to tell you about our first date lunch. I had just gotten a little Volkswagen, a yellow Volkswagen Beetle convertible. I've always wanted one. And I had just gotten it a few days before. And that morning I woke up and I just, wasn't in like the best frame. I just was like kind of blah. And I thought, I'm going to cancel the lunch and do it later. But something redirected me and just said, no, you need to keep that lunch. And so I got out of my car, got to the door of the restaurant, and here's Paul. He's meeting me literally at the door, looking at my little yellow Volkswagen Beetle convertible and saying, "Is that your car?" And I'm like, yes. And he's like, I always wanted one of those. And I got to tell you, in that moment, my heart melted. It was like, oh my God, this guy loves my car. And, the rest is history that, in a little over a month, we're getting married. And this has been just one of the just great bonuses of my life to have this man in my life. So stay alert, stay open to those nudgings of your heart, because you never know where it's going to lead you. The second thing he says is to take a stand and to keep your heart open. Arthur Rubinstein is a celebrated pianist, but he tried to take his life early on. And so what he said is, when I went out into the street, I came back from death. I was reborn. I suddenly realized what a damn fool I have made of myself. There were people moving through the streets. Dogs were running around. Flowers were growing in a little park. It was a wonderful, divine show. I learned then that happiness is not smiling or having money or being in good health, although these conditions are worth having. But happiness is really only living, taking life on its own terms. Now I am passionately involved in life. I love its changes, its color, its movement. To be alive, to be able to speak, to see, to walk, to have houses, music, paintings. It's all a miracle. I have adopted the technique of living life from miracle to miracle. And then the last thing that he suggests for us is to get ready, to anticipate the magic and ready ourselves for being surprised. Because here's what I can promise you. When you trust, amazing things will open up that you could not have possibly imagined. It's an opportunity to say, boy, I can't wait to see how God and I are going to work this out. And those of you who've been around for a while know my acronym for trust is to totally rely upon Spirit's ta-da, because that ta-da is going to be there. So this week, my friends, I invite you to really lean into this idea of change and uncertainty, and to look at maybe how you have experienced that in the past, but the opportunity that we have to move into this life of mastery, this call of something more, that we can trust the change, that we can trust the uncertainty, because we have everything that we need right here within us, because we have all come forth from that one presence and one power. That is God. That is love. That is a life that is pregnant with potentiality and possibilities. And it is, even when we can't see it, it is all working for the greater good of all of us. And I say to you, namaste. So before we move on to our next song, we have a message from Simone Height, who happens to be in Mexico right now, but who is our board treasurer.
Good morning. I'm Simone. I get the pleasure of being your treasurer this year again. And I know I'm missing you all greatly, and I hope you're staying safe and happy and well while we don't get to be together. So last year, I know that I begged you all to break the year out with a positive note, and we did. You all came through so greatly. This year, I'm asking again. I know we've not been together, but I want us again to finish on a positive note. I am not a negative person, so I don't like that negativity. So right now we are standing at a positive $1,600, and that is only due to the people that have been giving through this whole crazy time, and also we had a $27,000 PPP loan, which we do not have to pay back. We've been blessed with that. And that was to pay for our employees, because we are continuing to pay their salaries, and we want it that way. And the PPP loan said that we would have to pay them through that period of time. So again, a huge blessing. If we did not have that PPP loan, though, we'd be down about $25,000. So that just can't work. So what I'm asking is that you that have been giving, thank you so much, and please continue to do that. If you feel I can give a little bit more, pat it just a smidget. We do have continued utility bills, the employee salary, because the PPP loan has now been done for a couple months. We have lawn care, we have insurance, all that continues to go to make our home a home there, with us or without us there. But you'll come back to a nice surprise because there have been several of us revamping and freshening up our home. So when you come back, it'll put smiles on your faces. For you that forget to give when you're not at church, and for you that forget, like I do sometimes, what day of the week it is, because a lot of us don't have a schedule right now. I have a calendar that I have to follow, thank the Lord, but there's some of you out there that don't know if it's Wednesday or Sunday. So think about the automatic giving, so that every Sunday you do give. Share, when you see that link come up, share on Facebook, so to remind yourself and others that it's going to be Sunday. That way the bills still keep coming in, we still have to pay them. I know a lot of times we just forget. Sometimes I forget and it's Tuesday before I give, but please give. We've got so many easy ways of doing it with the Tithely and the automatic draft, and you can mail a check in, all kinds of ways. Sue reminds us every Sunday. For you that have not been giving, or you know someone's not been giving, just because they don't feel like they're at church, they don't need to give, remind them that it is home and it takes a little bit to make home go. I know some of you are going through some major difficulties, and when we get back, I would love to see you make that up with volunteering. And I'll leave that one up to Lisa. We are also approaching the end of the year where some of you need tax write-offs. We would be honored and blessed if you would think of us at this time of the year and bless us with one of your donations. That would be awesome. I know this is crazy, crazy times. I hope to see you all very soon. I'm missing every one of you in person. I always thank Facebook because I at least have some connection. And Sunday morning, all the little notes everybody puts on, I still keep in contact with you all. I just love that. But please remember to support the church. This is our home. We want it there. I hope to see you in person within a month or so. That's kind of our plans. If all goes right. And I know a lot of you will see each other at the concert coming up. So I love you all, and I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Namaste.
And thank you, Simone. And thank you, everybody, for your continued support. This is our spiritual home. And, even though we don't have activities going on outside of Sunday morning a lot, it still takes all of us to come together and to make sure that we can come back to that home and that we are thriving and not just surviving. So you can give by going to our website at unityofspringfield.org. You can go through our Tithely app. You can give through PayPal at sbcglobal.net, or you can mail a check to 2214 East Seminole, Springfield, Missouri, 65804. And thank you. Thank you to all of us, because we're all part of this. Every single one of us, I know, is doing our best to create a solid foundation. So now our next song is I Don't Need to Know by Daniel Nahmod.
Things go wrong, it's natural to wonder what celestial rule.
Let's see what's happening there. Let's go back one more time.
things go wrong, it's natural to wonder, what celestial rule did I break? And when things go right, it's logical to ponder, what credit can I take? But the truth is so much easier, I don't need a master plan. I can live here in the moment, 'cause my life is in good hands. And I don't need to know where the wind blows, 'cause God knows. I don't need to know what the future holds, 'cause God knows. And I never know how pain ends, how my heart bends. I can just let go, 'cause God knows. Still I find I'm crying out for answers. Guess I'm still craving control. And still I find I'm afraid of taking chances, as if I could damage my soul. But at this moment I remember, it comes so clear to me, that in the moment I surrender, I'm as safe as I can be. I don't need to know where the time goes, 'cause God knows. And I don't need to know what the future holds, 'cause God knows. And I need never know how pain ends, how my heart bends. Just let go, 'cause God knows. And I need never know how pain ends, how my heart bends. I can just let go. I just let go. Just let go. God knows. God knows. God knows.
And again, thank you to our amazing band and to Baggett-Spears for filming that. It was kind of fun to see how they use the different cameras to be there in person on that. So thank you so much for that. So a couple of announcements. We are going to be online through September. And we are going to be having a board meeting soon to discuss our next moves on this. So wanted to also let you know that we have our Planet Unity 5K coming up on Saturday, October 10th. This will be at 9 a.m. You can sign up early, and sign up is only $20 if you sign up early. So please do sign up for this. You can do a virtual run if you want, or you can do the actual run. Also, just a reminder that our Abraham group meets on Saturdays on Zoom from noon to 2 p.m. That information will be on our Facebook page. our Sunday morning adult world religion new thought class. If you, again, I just want to say to you, if you are not watching this, I encourage you to watch it at 9:15 or watch it later. What our facilitators are doing is they're essentially taking a book and they're giving us the best parts of it. And this is so amazing to me. I've honestly, I would often say, I wish somebody would just give me the best parts of the book. So I'm so happy that this is happening. John Brocker did an amazing job this morning on the 5 levels of attachment by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. So please do watch out. Next week we have Paula Armconnect. She's going to be talking about manifesting change. It couldn't be easier. How perfect is that? By Mike Dooley. The Eye of the Storm class we started last Tuesday. It's going to be the next 4 Wednesdays from 6 to 8 p.m. on Zoom. The information again will be on our Facebook page here. And if you did get to come last week, it's okay. You are welcome to join this next week. Also, don't forget that we have our Uniteens and Teens on Zoom on Sundays and on Wednesdays. They are doing the Eye of the Storm for teens, which is cool. And Rachel Willis will be doing our junior Sunday school on the Unity of Springfield Youth and Families page soon, actually in just a couple minutes. So let's close with our prayer for protection and let's envision this for the entire world. Together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and truly all is well. So now it's time to stand up. It was so much fun last night at the concert to get everybody up and moving, to see y'all dancing to I'm Alive with the Spirit of God by Dale Worley. Here we go. Oh man, keep moving. Woohoo! Yeah! Can you keep that up the whole time? Woohoo! Yeah! Here we go. We're alive.
I am alive with the Spirit of God. 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 I am alive, y'all. I'm alive with the Spirit of God. I am 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 alive, y'all. I'm alive with the Spirit of God.
Okay, keep moving. Woohoo! Yeah. Oh yeah, hello, Richard. Woohoo! Yeah. Woohoo! Arms up. Yeah. Woo! Got me some clapping here. Ready?
I am alive with the Spirit of God. 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 I am alive, y'all. I'm alive with the Spirit of God.
Okay, last time you go.
I am alive with the Spirit of God. 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 I am alive, y'all. I'm alive with the Spirit of God. I am alive, y'all. I'm alive with the Spirit of God.
One more time.
I am alive, y'all. I'm alive with the Spirit of God.
Woo! Yes. Oh yeah. Woo! Again, thank you to our band. Thank you, Paul, for being our cameraman. Thank you to all of you for being here. Thanks for bearing with us through technical challenges. And I encourage you to go and listen to Rachel on the Unity of Springfield family page. We love you. We bless you. We miss you. And we will see you soon. Namaste.